All right, friends, we're back here. I made my trip over to my buddy's house and got some stuff, and I'm back here now. I'll show you the little bushings here in just a second, and this is going to be a video that I'm making for Jeremy Thomas in particular. He's got a side cover, a pull start cover that's torn apart, and he needs to know how to put it back together. So I told him, I said, show me what you got, and he did. And he's got most all the parts except for what I call the glide plate, and I'll show that to you in the video. And we're going to make one to show y'all that it's not hard to come up with something that you can use on these old saws if you can't find the parts for them. I think y'all enjoy this. I like to make them. So I'm going to show you the bushings here in a minute, and then we'll go from there. I'm going to point the camera back down at the table, and then we'll go from there. All right, here we go. Now I know y'all can just about see me. I think that's, well, camera, lay where I want you to. All right, that should be good. Might have to get Daniel to come check the camera and make sure everything's where it needs to be. Well, where'd I do? Y'all know how it is around here. Everything we do is a mess.
Where you on?
Can you see my face?
See you good.
Can you see the stuff on the table?
Yes.
Fairly, or?
Let me bring it down just a hair.
Bring it down, just bend that arm down a little bit and it'll go.
There we go.
All
I
right.
think that's better. Look good.
Is it everything? I like it when I look up there at it, you can actually see me.
Yeah, yeah. That looks good.
All right. These are the bushings that we had made. They're little aluminum bushings, and I make a driver. The Oregon fuel lines that we're getting for these Macs, me and Buckin really like them. They work real nice. They stay pliable. They don't get hard. But the one thing that they don't do is they don't seal in the tank. Whenever they make them, they make the large part of it is smaller than what it needs to be to fit in the tank. Well, I can make these bushings here to go in these things, but I had my buddy make these here, and I got to deburr them some yet, but we drive these into the tank and then pull them through there. I'm not going to do it right now because they're fairly heavy to get in there, but he made me I think he made me like 30 of them. I've got to test fit them. He's real good at making what he makes, so I don't doubt that they'll work. I just got to I got to deburr the inside of that hole, because he told me, he said for what I made them for you for, I'm gonna let you deburr the inside of the hole. And I said, well, how much are they? And he said, nothing, I just made them for you. So he didn't charge me anything for making them, so I can't complain about deburring the holes. Now, what we got here is a hole starter assembly for a 1010, 710, ProMac 800, SP81, just about anything in the 10 series or that line. This side cover will basically fit all of those saws. And I know somebody's going to watch it and say, that's not the same side cover for every one of them. You are correct. It is not the same side cover for all of them. They're all a little bit different in one way or the other. But almost every one of these side covers will work on the other saw. You just can't put all the screws in it. But it will fit on there, and it will start the saw, and you can get them running. The ones for the 800s and stuff, some of them have a hole back here, and some of them don't have this hole. Some of them don't have this hole and have holes down here and back here, and some of them don't have this cutout. It's just the ones that don't have the cutout don't like to fit on some of those are the 80cc covers. Some of those don't like to fit on 10 series saws, but I think I do actually have one on one. I think it will fit on there. I'd have to look to make 100% sure, but anyway, that's the long and short of it. We're gonna attempt to make a quick little video here. I should have cleaned a little more of this up before I started filming, but I didn't. This is what I call the guide plate or glide plate. It goes down here, and it keeps the spring from coming out down into here. Now I have took some of them apart, and they don't have this in them, and some of them is broke and whatnot. I prefer to have something in there. So what I did was I told him in his parts, in Jeremy's parts, he didn't have one of these in his parts that he showed me a picture of. So I'm going to show you how to make one just by cutting it out with an oil jug. It's not anything that's real precise or anything. It's just a roundabout. My hands would quit letting go of everything, it'd be a little easier to show you. But we're gonna go from here, trying to clean some of that dirt out above them bushings, because whoever done it made them dirty. I know most people, if you take one of these apart, you don't have one to measure it, and you can measure that hole. If I can find my measuring device, which is a mess. Everything over here is a mess. Aha! I found the measuring device. This circle, it looks like it's 2 inches, 862. What is that? It's just under 2 inches and 7/8. It's 2,682. It's 2 and what is it? 2 and it's basically 2 and 55/64, which is strange. So, you know, and the center hole is 3/4 of an inch. So, you know, it's just a little old thin thing. This is actually made out of a piece of phenolic board, which I have a piece of it, but this is just a hair thicker, so we're not going to make it out of that one. I don't know what thickness this actually is. I meant to check it. Oh, it looks like 28 thousandths. That other board I got 62. This is right at 30 thousandths, so we're going to use a good old oil jug. And I know I have made them out of oil jugs before, and milk jugs too. The oil jug's a little bit more substantial. But I already pre-cleaned the oil jug so it wouldn't be nasty on the inside and leaking oil out everywhere while we were trying to cut it up. Throw the rest of the trash. And what we usually do is I use this side sticking up, because it's a lot softer or slicker, or whatever you want to call it. But since I have one of these, I'm just simply gonna cheat. You know, if you don't have one and you need to make one, you just make it out of whatever you can find. And we're going to take this socket and see if we can attempt to punch a hole in it. And that's pretty good. If we just get to go the rest of the way through, my table's just not Table just quite, it's so pitted up, it just ain't quite where it needs to be. So we mashed it out there. We'll just take the razor knife and just trim us one out. This ain't anything that's like a super critical measurement or anything like that. It just goes around this white bushing and it sets in there. You just gotta have enough clearance for this bushing to go through it. And that's the main part. As long as it's got enough clearance for that bushing to go through it and you get it pretty well centered, it'll be all right. Well, that should be good enough there. Yeah, it fits down through it. You just don't want it to be so tight that it binds up when you try to put it in there. If it's a little bit small, it'll be all right. The main thing is the center of the spring has something to set against. If it tries to push out, it holds it up in there tight, and it keeps it where it needs to be. So we got just about there, and then you put it in there like that. That's when you got one to trace, it makes it a lot easier. All right, now these bushings, I think somebody's already knocked it off of this one. Oh, there's a little bit of it. There's a little tip right there. I don't know if you can see it or not, but that little tip goes in that little hole right there. And you gotta make sure you hit it, or it'll keep your bushing pushed up, and it makes it a lot harder to get it in the slot. And like I say, somebody's already messed this one up just a little bit, so I'm gonna have to trim that off of there. And once you get that off, just make sure that it goes down in the slot. And this one here, it looks like this one does not have that slot on it on this side. That's unusual. The bushing goes in there in your paw. It has a little bit of grease on it, so I'm just gonna feed it in there. It's a little bit tight. I don't know why it's a little bit tight, but it is. This is just an old cover. Anyway, you want to make sure it's loose in there. If it's a little tight, you might have to go in there and scrape out the inside, but for the sake of that, I'm going to leave that in there. And I purposely pulled the spring out to show you all this. Spring on this one's in fair shape. It's a little crusty. I cleaned it up a little bit. These springs are not that hard to put in. Right here at the beginning, this is where you're going to put your spring. And the easiest way that I found to put these in there, put them in and start to wrap them. And this sometimes takes a minute or two. It's a lot easier whenever you're doing it, just holding it in your hands, than when you're trying to film it, I promise. Once you get it started in there, it's not near as hard to wind it. But trying to do it for a camera makes it a lot harder. Once you get it going, it's a little bit easier. If you've got all the junk off your table, it makes it much easier yet. You just keep winding her around. You gotta keep your fingers on it, because it will fly out and try to kill you. Wrap around your head and your arms and everything else. And that's how you put one in right there. I don't know whether y'all can see that real good or not. There's a little notch right there, and that spring is going to be off-centered. And what you want to do is you want to try to get this on there and turn it just so that piece will come right down in there where that spring is and catch the spring. And sometimes that is not the easiest thing to do on some of these. I don't know whether y'all can see this or not. I doubt you'll be able to, but take your little pick, reach up in there, some of these will go right in, some of them won't. It's just one of them things. Having a little pick to put them in there with makes it so much easier. You get your little spring in. Don't let that thing spin, because it will tear it up. But see, we wrap it up now and it unwinds. So there's our other phenolic spacer. We're going to save that one. We're going to put a new piece of rope in it. Yeah, I usually use 4.5. 4.5 seems to be about the best. And I mean size 4.5, not 4.5 foot. If you melt the end of this stuff and squeeze it with your fingers, it's hot if you've not done it before, so keep that in mind. I don't have as much feeling in my fingers as most people, so I'm good with that. All right. Now on these pulleys, they are people who put them together wrong all the time. This one was actually together wrong. When you pull the rope, you're pulling it this way and spinning it. In here there is a ledge. I don't know if you can see it or not. If I can find my little pick. There's a spot right here. There's not much. There is a ledge right in there. You can see it. It's longer than any of the rest of them. And what we want to do, if the rope will fit through the hole, which sometimes it will, sometimes it won't, is you want to put it through with the rope going through toward the side with the ledge on it. I'm going to have to melt that tip down just a little bit more. See, that actually burns a little bit. You get her shortened up like that, and you want to go through from this side to the other side. And when you get that in there, there's a little pin. If somebody hasn't lost it, there's a little pin like this. If they have lost it, you can go to the hardware store and get the little brass tacks that kind of look like that. You can take them little brass tacks and you can push them through the rope and then cut them off about 1/4 of an inch long, or maybe 5/16 of an inch. And they actually work good. I keep a box of them here for the ones that people have lost. They're actually easier to put in than these pins are. But I usually take my pick, try to heat it up with a cigarette lighter. Sometimes you have to do this twice. You get it good and hot enough to burn you. That way it burns everything that you touch, even your fingers. You know, because you want it to hurt. You don't want it to just tickle a little bit. If you're gonna do it, you want it to hurt. You stab it in there hot. At least if it's good and hot, when you stab it in your finger, you don't bleed as much. But you push that thing through there while it's hot. And yes, it is hot. It's actually nice and hot. Try to push it through as far as you can get it without breaking the rope. Sometimes I heat it up a little more while I got it stuck in there. What this will do is it'll set the hole. Because you got to get that hole opened up, and you got to get it to stay open enough that you can put that pin through it. Because it's not the easiest thing in the world to put in there, but whenever you put them in right, they stay in there, and they stay in there good. I might have got that one a little hot, I don't know. When you get it in there, you pull your rope back through. You want the head of that pin to go down towards the center. And when you pull it through there, the pin will go inside that ledge, and it'll set right there on top of it. Then when you wrap the rope, it wraps back on itself. You get it wrapped up. You get it in there pretty good. Go through the right part of the hole on your side cover. I got the end of this rope just a little bit larger than it actually needs to be. There's not really, there is a special knot that I tie. It makes it just a little bit larger. I don't even know exactly what that knot's called. But when you cinch it down, you cinch it up on itself. If you've got enough room to get it in there is the main thing. Some handles you can, some you can't. Put her in there. Alright, that's one twist. I'm going to go ahead and give it another one. Twist her around. See if you can line your screw holes up. I ain't 100% sure if the screw holes are good in this cover or not. This is mainly for instructional purposes. I'm just going to put two in it. There you go. This cover's in real good shape. Even got the pro roller on it. And that, my friends, is how you fix your side cover and put your new pull rope in. Heating that pin up takes a little practice. If you go to the hardware store and get the little pins that are already sharp, you get them just a little smaller than the original. I don't know exactly what size that are. The ones I use are around the size of a finishing nail, but they got a small round head on their brass. I push those through and then cut them about that long and put them in there, and they seem to work just fine. Well, I'm going to stop this video now. If you have any other questions, just let me know, and we'll make a video for that. So, Bellhopper out for now.